First of all, I want to welcome you and thank you very much for taking this course. And this is going to be the course overview. This is a pretty big decision that I know you've made because I can understand the frustrations as an artist when you're trying to create something. Everything starts with character, as we know. And before you can draw a character and put that character on to a game or a comic, a graphic novel, you need to design that character. In section 1, it's called Before You Draw. This gets into creating a design document. This also is going to be helpful if you are working with clients and they give you a design document, or maybe they give you a vague description, because that happens a lot. You'll find out what it is that you're designing for. I'm going to show you how to use a brainstorm ideas if you kind of can't come up with any ideas, or maybe you have some ideas that need to be refined. You can use a mind map. We go into refining those ideas, and I've also included a bunch of character sheets that are my little character cheat sheets that I use, and I know they're going to be really helpful for you. You can download that, the zip file. I go and explain what a turnaround is, because I think that's important. Those are usually the things that you see are thumbnails and turnarounds. So I explain to you what they're for. I go into a bit of color theory and meaning, and you'll have your first assignment. Section 2 is understanding basic shapes in design. I go over some of the basic shapes that you will be using to design your characters, and as you notice, we haven't really started drawing just yet because I want to get you into the mindset of a designer. This is design, not illustration. So you design first, you illustrate next. Section 3, I talk about archetypes. When you are creating a game or anything else or any sort of story, there are different archetypes. I go into each one of these archetypes and you'll learn all about those. Section 4 is when you really start to draw. That is going to get into thumbnailing. Not only am I going to explain to you what thumbnailing, different styles you can use, but you're going to start doing your own thumbnails. And with the thumbnailing section, there is going to be a download file for your assignment with the thumbnail section. Section 5 is going to be how to use reference. Once you get your thumbnails going, you want to start to make them a little bit more tangible. I'm going to show you how to use reference and show you some ways of taking advantage of reference without reference being a crutch. Section 6, you'll be taking that reference and refining your thumbnails, and I'll show you different techniques of that. And you'll have an assignment at the end of that as well. Section 7 is all about the turnaround, and I show you different methods of doing turnarounds, whether you're doing it both traditionally, meaning pencil and paper. Some of us draw a little bit better on pencil and paper, and then you're going to want to scan it in. And also I show you just a digital workflow for those of you that are drawing strictly digital. Then you'll have an assignment at there. Now, any good story has protagonists and antagonists and henchmen, but if you're drawing a character, or if you're making a town that's populated by background characters, or NPCs as I'm calling them, that's what we call them in games, I have a little section on designing NPCs. Now, with just these first 8 sections, that is the bulk of the course, and you've actually learned an entire workflow. And I could have stopped right there, but I decided that I didn't want to stop right there. I knew that there were certain areas that as an artist, as a designer, that I felt were really important to go more in depth about. So I have this section on how to draw wrinkles and folds. That's 6 videos. I show you different kinds of folds and how to draw them. People have been having problems with drawing wrinkles and folds. So I wanted to address that, because that goes hand in hand with designing. If you're not going to be designing armor, then you're going to be designing clothing. And this is one of the things that will help you out. Now, if you don't need to know how to draw wrinkles and folds, I would say definitely at least just look at it and see if you could pick up some pointers here and there. Section 10, I have how to design a superhero costume. I show you some very quick techniques on how to design your own superhero. I break it down into different categories of superheroes. This is by no means a complete list of the kinds of superheroes, but I look at some of the ones that are more popular. And the reason why I'm doing this is because even if you don't need to draw a superhero or want to draw a superhero, if you are going to freelance, sometimes you may be asked to do that. Or maybe you might be a graphic designer and maybe one of your logos has some sort of superhero theme to it. Or maybe you just want to make your own comic book that stars superheroes. I show you a technique on doing that. The next section is what I mentioned, that it is an entire course on how to draw armor, because I think that drawing armor, when you are talking about concept design, without a doubt you're either looking at fantasy and or sci-fi armor, and it is one of the most commonly used kinds of designs that's out there. It's in video games, comics, anime, regular animation. It's everywhere. Everything seems to be pretty much armor. If you're not drawing clothing, then if you're not drawing a superhero costume, you're going to be drawing armor. So, section 11, I break down the individual parts of drawing fantasy armor, every part, and explain to you how they work, how they are fastened, so that you will get a really good base and understand what you're drawing, instead of just drawing some plates and pieces and not really having a good understanding when you turn your character, or if you have to turn your character in 3D space. Section 12, an entire section on understanding sci-fi armor. Although they are both still armor, there are some differences there, and I go into those, as you can see, for 8 videos. And in section 13, there are armor examples. There are 14 different armor examples. There's also some zip files there. So there are 14 different examples, 14 different videos, everything from different parts, and I do turnarounds, and I do full sets of armor, so that you can get an idea of how to approach designing armor. So I give you the theory and the meaning behind the armor and how to draw the basic shapes of the armor, and then we become a bit more stylized. And in section 14, I just show you how to push the designs further. So, and as you can see, these are some other things that'll help you to push your designs farther. So, I know it's a lot, but I really wanted to create something that was in-depth, and something that by the time you are done with this course, you should be a very confident designer with a professional mindset. That is the beginner to professional. Being a professional is more about your mindset and how you handle yourself, how you look at your art, how you look at your interaction with clients, or even how you just approach a project that you're doing on your own. Being a professional is having a professional mindset. So not only are you going to learn how to have a professional approach to what you're doing, but you're also going to have a pretty good skill set to where you'll be able to design almost any character that you could imagine. All right, so that is the overview, and I would say go right ahead and get started.